everybody to the second episode of Jelly Block Stories.
Some say Jelly Block,
Some say Gilly Block,
whatever you prefer, we can all agree that it's a place of community,
a place of family,
a place of belonging,
a place of warmth,
and storytelling around the fire. And so for the next season, we're going to be telling these stories. We welcome you to sit around the fire with us. So many years, so many stories. Guys, do you remember back in the day when we first joined the team, 2005? How some people's voices used to shake when we would talk in the team.
Some people is me.
or do this.
Like this.
Some people would even cry. But, Tombi, if I think about it now, how we have grown as individuals sitting here and the journey that we've walked, I'm just grateful for all the growth and what God has done in our lives. If I just think back, Kibbutz El Shama, where is situated in my community, Rodewald, that Jeanette was talking about, I just always used to find my way back there. I started as a 5-year-old, and then they had programs after school to come. They used to call it JPAS, SOPA, Junior Performing Arts School, SOPA, School of Performing Arts, and then the ministry. And so I joined that team, and that's why today I can sit here and I can speak to you about my journey and what God has done. But I had to stick it through. It was about making a choice and deciding, I'm going to do this. Because if I look at my peers today, I'm just grateful for where God has taken me and where I'm at today. Because I had to make a choice. It is about a choice. You get to a crossroad, and unfortunately for the children of my community, is we get to that where your journey is laid out for you. You are not going to finish school. You're not going to college. You have to go work at the factories. That's what we do. But I came to a point and a crossroad where I had to make a choice. Am I going to fall into that trap of society, or am I going to do and what the Lord has laid out in my path? And it's also because of women in my life, women like my mother, women like Jeanette Martin, and so many others that encouraged me to follow the road less traveled, we call it. And so I have made this decision. It was hard because I was the youngest of the family, and my sisters both fell in the trap of not finishing school and not going to university and all of those things. So there was this expectation from my parents and the community that I'm supposed to, fulfill those roles. But I believe, and up until today, that the Lord has called me for something greater, something bigger. I also have a passion for the arts, and so I had a drama in school, and so I wanted to also be, do the things. But I chose this call that God has placed on my life. I think it's after matric or my matric year that Jeanette approached me to join the team. And I had to go pray about it. You have to go pray about it. That's not I don't have another way out. This is a big thing. And so, like I said in the beginning, I always felt drawn to this place. And it's I'm not just talking about the physical place, the kibbutz. I'm talking about, I can't even explain it, but I believe it's the core. I've always been drawn to this core. And so I went to go pray about it, and I said, yes, I'm going to do this, because I knew it's not just for me, it's about the generations coming after me. It's about you guys sitting in front of me. I had the desires to performing arts, even teaching, all of those type of things. I'm traveling the world to tell about God's goodness and the story of my people, but I'm doing it through what I love, singing, dancing, acting.
Yeah. And last night I saw this video on Facebook of this young girl in New Zealand singing one of your songs. Imagine a girl from Rodewald, and people say, nothing, what good can come out of Rodewald? And then you write the song in worship to God, and a 6-year-old in New Zealand quotes it singing, that's why I will hold on, that's why I will hold on.
Similar testimony of a lady. She phoned me and she said, I heard one of your songs during my operation, and that's the thing that kept me going. I just heard it over and over and over. And so if I didn't say yes to the Lord, the song would have been birthed. That life would not have been saved. And so it goes back from me to the yes that Auntie Shanette said, the yes that my mother said, the yes that, and so this morning I wrote the quote that I put on Facebook a few years back. Your yes can change or steer the course of a generation
Sure.
and the generations to come.
Sure. I'm wondering how many yeses that we've said over the years. Like what impact will that last? But also what impact will that have on us? Like Shanette was sharing how working amongst these people have changed her so much. Like I'm so excited to see in the next however many years, like how this journey will further impact us, because I know I've been so impacted. I was also part of the group who the voice shake when you talk, because when I was in primary school, previously Model C school, primary school, and I had a white teacher, and I used to talk a lot before I got wounded, and then she made me sit under the table at her feet in front of the whole class, and she put duct tape on my mouth.
Still can't believe it.
And I felt so humiliated and embarrassed, but I didn't know that was a wound. It was only years later that God revealed to me like that was a wound, and like it sort of silenced me, because then I didn't like to talk anymore. God is a God of redemption, and like He doesn't leave stuff unfinished.
Yeah.
And he pursues our hearts, and I just love it about Him. Like even when I didn't know Him, He knew me and He pursued me. And so years later, maybe I don't know how many years later, but I was 11. This this English white lady comes to. I was sitting crying in the bathroom because I had a dramatic moment again. And she comes to me and she affirms me, because that specific day I felt like, I don't have anything to offer. We were rehearsing for Annie, and then she affirms me and she says, there's this voice inside of you that needs to be heard, and you need to speak more. And I joined Southridge, and obviously, if it's not obvious, the lady was Shanette. and out of this, many platforms have been given for me to speak and find my voice, but also impact, but also to find healing. Yeah. Because I had this resentment against white women, because I felt like I was silenced by one. But then God uses another white woman to affirm to me that you have. Yeah. So that moment doesn't have that power over me anymore, because many moments after that was created, for me to find my voice. And obviously today I'm a spoken word artist.
Yes.
And I love talking, as you can see.
Tell us how the journey continued for you from that moment of impact when you were 11 years old, to how you said yes to the Lord, to how you said, Here is ek.
Yeah, so I didn't even say yes to Jesus, I said yes to performing. And then we went on outreach. That is a model for community development. We went on outreach to go perform in Cape Town, and then I got saved in 2005 in December on outreach with Southlands.
During outreach,
I got saved. The Lord can do miraculous things. So I said yes to Jesus that night, and I was part of Southlands ever since. And then in 2011 we were matric, and actually got 2 bursaries to go study at Stellenbosch. And then this one afternoon, I just felt the Lord was calling me to not go to university.
Ooh.
Oh no, how am I going to tell this to my mother, who the whole community expects of me to go? Obviously, because, I loved school, that. I loved academics, and I did well, man. And then I sat my mother down this one afternoon, and I said, I'm feeling that the Lord is saying that I need to commit 1 year to Him. That auntie cried.
Shame.
But she understood. And then actually after that year, I got the same 2 bursaries again. So God was faithful in that.
Look at God.
Wow.
But the journey wasn't all, in my second year, I failed university. But and so I came back to Roodeval or Worcester. And what was supposed to be the worst year of my life turned out to be the best year. Because I came back to Southridge, I came back to this thing that I grew up in, and that I was always passionate about. I've always been passionate about community. I've been passionate about my people. And I love using the performing arts for that. And who doesn't love touring? And yeah, and it's just like, such a safe space, and one where I experienced God the most. I did experience him in Stellenbosch, being in uni. Thank you, Tando. But like when I came back, I came full time into South Roots again, and I just kind of fell into it. It wasn't something I had to pray about until it became something I had to pray about, because then it was only a 1-year thing, and I decided I'm going into full-time missions, And so I'm still studying. I'm studying through UNISA, but like I know this is what I need to do with my life. And actually in 2015 we went to Namibia, and God spoke to me there. And it kind of reminded me of Sinead's story about how she had to sacrifice the thing that she loved. Because we were climbing Dune 7.
Yay!
And then God reminded me of where well, in the middle of it, I started crying because I was tired. And I was like, no, Lord, I can't do this. And it kind of just felt like my whole journey with my academics, or my calling, not academics, my calling. I was like, Lord, I can't do this, I don't know. And he reminded me of the story of where Abraham had to take Isaac, and he was like, are you willing to sacrifice the one thing that that the promise that I've given you, this is the only hope for the promise that I've given you. Are you willing to sacrifice that thing? And to me, that was my academics. I thought that was the key to my calling, going to study and being equipped to go and make a difference in society. And that day I said, Father, yes, I'm willing to sacrifice this thing that I thought is the only key to be able to walk out the calling. And I said, yes, Lord. But when you get to the top, God has provided. And so I was willing to sacrifice it, but it isn't something that's completely not what I'm supposed to do. It's part of what I'm supposed to do. So a friend sent me a message yesterday saying, the land of sacrifice is where God provides.
Wow.
And being in missions, I've literally seen how God provides. Being woman of color, it's a struggle. It's our people don't understand this concept. And it's like, so if you are missionary, why aren't you somewhere in the Amazon cutting down trees like she did mention? Like, what makes this missions? But it's about influencing communities and societies. And we get to do that on a daily. And without, the salary. And I mean, you have honors in psychology, like how?
It's a long journey. Tombi, it's a tough journey. Let me tell you now, it's not easy, it's tough, but it's so worth it. It's like Gracia said, when you walk the dune and you get to the top, it's a moment, but it's so worthy of being standing there and having that view. Me and Gracia, the same start out, got saved on outreach. Shame. And then started when we were 11 years old. And I'm part of South Roots now for 16 years. Sure, yeah, it's a long time. Won't disclose my age, but anyway. Yes, and it's been a long journey. And I think I stayed part of South Roots most of my teenage year because of the program, because of the mentorship, the family, the discipleship that was going on there. But my official yes was in 2015. By that time, my involvement in South Roots had been like, I'm focusing fully now on my studies, so I'm not going to be as involved. But that year, 2015, I felt a tugging towards like, I need to do this again, I need to do ministry again. I need to be out there doing what God has called me. And I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this even? And that year we had a conference in Pursuit of Divine Design. And I remember sitting in one of those seminars and I was like, Lord, what is happening in my life? Next year I'm graduating at the end of this year and I probably need to go work or continue my studies or work because the family is counting on me, and like your mother, she puts away the money or she helps you get through university, so you feel the burden of putting back or giving back to the family. And I was like, what is happening? What am I doing? Am I really gonna do this missions thing? Am I gonna do what you called me? And as I sat there in the seminar, the Lord told me like, read John 4. And I was like, the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. And I read it, and I was like, I don't understand this. And so I read it again. And what stood out for me the second time was when Jesus told the woman, because she had this thing with Jesus about the water and stuff. And Jesus basically told her, you can keep on drinking from the water from this well, but you will be thirsty again and again, and you'll drink again. Or you can drink the life-giving water that I give to you. And I was like, okay, I definitely want to drink the life-giving water. I don't want to thirst again. I don't want to come to this well again and again and be thirsty. I want to drink from what you supply, the water that you give, the life-giving water. And he said something like, as you drink the water that I'm providing, you will also give life to others. And that's, Gracia spoke about the influence that we daily have in the communities and the children and such. And I remember sitting there and I read that and I'm like, yes, Lord. I have no idea how I'm going to do this. I have no idea what I'm going to do or what the next step looks like. But yes. And I continued to read and I read further on. Jesus says something like, the time is now when people will worship me in spirit, will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. And I was like, yes, I want to be part of this time that is now, that you are saying is happening now, where people will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. And at the time, I did not know what it looked like or what it was going to look like, but I definitely said in that moment, I was just like sitting there and I was like, yes, Lord, in my heart, not even vocally or saying it out loud. I was just like, yes, Lord, I want to be part of this. So it's been tough because I had to go back and write my final exam still. And I had to tell my mother, shame, this woman, every woman's mother. Because I didn't tell her, like everyone told their parents, like week after week we'd come back and we'd be like, did you tell your mother? Did you tell your mother you're going to be a full-time missionary? And I was like, next week, next week. And eventually my mother heard from someone and then I had to tell her. I felt so bad, Shane. But she put up with so much. And she was so understanding, and that was such a God moment. Because my mother could have told me, hello, you must go work, you must go and just bring some money in because it's tough. Like Sylvia said, previously disadvantaged community. So many things going on in our community, but it was such a God moment. And I don't even know how to explain it, but she understood. And she was like, go follow what God has called you to do, called you to be. And up to this day, there's no even her asking, hey, when are you going back to work? There's nothing like that because God has been so faithful in this journey. Yeah. We don't get a salary, we don't do the normal things the way society says it must be done. But we do get to live out His story. Yeah. We do get to live out what He has called us to be and to do, and that is what it's about ultimately. It's not my story, it's not her story, it's not Gracia's story, but it's His story. It's an everyday yes.
Yeah.
It's every day. It's every season when seasons change, or we change locations. It's waking up saying, yes, Lord. Lord, I still want to do this. Yeah. Because you can wake up one morning and choose, no, I don't want to do this anymore. This is too hard. Yeah. This is getting too difficult. I don't have any money in my bank account. Yeah. I need to pay this and this and that, and I want to provide and be there for my family. But it's an everyday yes. Yeah. It's a lifetime of yeses to get to live out His story. Yes.
En daai was net 'n druppel in die emmer.
A drop in the ocean. See you next week.